Name is Heather Nieves. I am a women's empowerment coach and founder of I Love Me Yoga. Through human design, yoga, and other soul centered philosophies, I teach women to love themselves, step into their soul's calling so they can live a life that's authentic AF. And I'm in South Carolina, but I miss California. The 3 years that we lived there, oh, it just nourished my soul. I don't think we'll ever move back, but I definitely maybe in 2021, 2022, I'll come back for a visit when I can enjoy the state.
When we allow people to come back in.
Mm. But this is not a COVID conversation. I don't even
Right.
have a desire to talk about those things right now. I'm just so over it.
So since you're coming back this for the second time, I've invited you back because you've made a shift and you've made a shift into this human design thing. And this was a totally foreign concept for me. So could you tell me a little bit about like that high level, like what is human design?
Yeah, so it's so interesting how our paths evolve, and sometimes I was having a conversation with someone. She said it seems like you don't find human design, human design finds you. And so it was founded in the 80s, and kind of like Buddha, this man, his formal name I think is like Robert something, and pardon me, Robert Allen Kirkauer, and he changed his name to Ra Uruhu, and some spiritual people get a download for a new name, but he had this insight, and it's a marriage of human design is like a marriage. It's like it was like an experiment, but it came together in in this time of sitting for this man in the 80s. And it's a marriage of astrology. So if you've ever been into astrology, but not like I read my horoscope in the newspaper, but really like you want to look into your moon sign and your rising sign. And there's also I Ching, which is like hexagrams and uh, I'm understanding it as like energetic lines that cross our body and they connect with the planets. And then there's Kabbalah, the chakra system, and quantum physics. And so, really, Karen Curry teaches like it's not created um, to change who you are, but it gives you tools to have a deeper understanding of your gifts. And I've been explaining it lately as so people struggle with spirituality or struggle with almost moving forward with things that they already know inside of themselves, but we seek tangible. And I find that human design is the tangible. It's the permission to follow your soul's calling. It's the permission to be who you already know that you are, but you've been conditioned to be otherwise, right? And so I love to use the hashtag authentic AF. So I'm like, it empowers you to be authentic AF. And it's like, hey, how did this person know like what my soul's calling was? How did this person know like how I navigate the world? Because it really just gives you a new perspective, and allows you to empower the beautiful and magnificent parts about yourself, and it helps you to examine the shadow sides of who you are. For me, authority for most people happens in the physical body, and that's like how you make decisions in life. And so, especially being in tune with meditation and yoga, and we hear follow your intuition, follow your intuition. I get excited where we're being shown where the intuition speaks to you, and I'm like, no shit, like this. Sorry. There's a place that shows us, all right, well, now I need to tune into my solar plexus, my sacral. There are some people with mental projections. Oftentimes they just need to like say things out loud because the body just isn't energized to speak to them.
Oh wow.
And so we'll look at your chart together, and I can really teach you by your own chart if that feels good. But it's it helps you leverage your energy so that when you're in business, when you're on this journey to self love, it helps you to think not what's wrong with me. It's like, oh my gosh, this is my design. I am not meant to do things the same way as the rest of the world, which may be a certain person's design. Or, oh wow, I am so energized and I don't need to feel bad about wanting to do all the things because people are judging me, saying I'm doing too many things and then I need to rest. But maybe you were designed to do all the things and to embrace it, because some people that are like that are titled a hot mess all over the place, when in fact you're just multi-passionate and you are designed that way and you work extremely well doing many things, right? So I'm speaking very broadly, but it's just many examples of how cool human design validates and verifies who we are. And I think if you're on this self-love journey and coming into your, like, what is my purpose? What is, like, what is my soul called to do? It's it's an empowering tool, like a map, to be able to really find more happiness and more authenticity and more love, right?
So what has it changed directly in your life since you've brought this tool in? Like, what's the biggest change that you've seen?
I think sometimes we can be self-conscious about our energy or lack of energy, like I was saying before. And so for me, it's empowering me. Like, I know I am this energetic being. There's even evidence of being empathic on a chart. And while many of us are empathic in many different ways, there's a person with an open solar plexus literally takes on other people's energetic emotions. And some people might take it on in their head or their heart or their root or their spleen, right? But it does something different to each of us. So how has it changed? I'll say this to you, since I know you have yoga teacher training. I didn't get this excited in yoga teacher training.
Oh, wow.
And I think, I don't know, I feel like this was such an unexpected tool to add to my path. And I decided, instead of like take the course, memorize the things, I just started doing readings for people and decided that's how I was going to learn. So, close friends, I started doing readings. And then it started clicking for me after I had my own two readings. So it's, when I'm stuck with something, I'll use it as a tool rather than like getting frustrated or insecure. Or I literally look at my chart every single day.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not giving you a direct answer. But I'm also, and so this is what's cool. I'm also the type of person, when I love something, I want to tell everybody about it. It's also in my chart that says, all right, well, you're the messenger, you're the investigator, which like wants to be a teacher oftentimes. So I'm obsessed with like being the messenger, but I'm also obsessed with investigating it and being the Sherlock Holmes. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. That makes sense. Because I'm a resource for people, and I've known that for a really long time. But I'm more empowered knowing this. So if I'm like, oh, you should watch this. Oh, you could do this. Oh, you could do this. You could do this. And then I would just think, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelming them. But it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm good at. So it's a relief, because then I can just like let go of the insecurities. And it's like, no, this is how I was designed to be. So let me focus on it as a strength. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It just shined a light on something for you that was like, no, these are things that actually are gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And we're divinely put
Exactly.
on this earth at a certain time in a certain place to share these, to get these gifts so that we can share them.
Mm-hmm.
From my
And so,
understanding of how it works.
yeah,
I love
it makes,
finding
yeah,
things.
I appreciate you articulating that back to me. So on my chart, and we'll take a look at your chart. So there's 9 energy centers, and they all have a different connection to kind of like what it means, right? And so my head and my root, so the very top like triangle and the very bottom square, are white on my chart. Those are pressure centers. So I kind of live in a pressure center, pressure to figure things out, pressure to get the things done. And so I physically feel that in my body. So knowing this, I can say, okay, yeah, that's how I am. But because I know this, I don't want to always live like this, because it's like my default. So I'm like, that's why I'm constantly putting myself under pressure to be more successful, to figure out what's next, right? And so now that I know that, I step back and work towards my signature, which is satisfaction. So, how can I be more satisfied in this moment? And instead of like making fast decisions to escape the pressure, what can I do to feel good right now? And can I allow not figuring it out right now? Can I allow that to kind of just like be over here right now so I can be in this moment? Because pressure is like the future, right?
That's so interesting. Like my mind is like going in so many different directions because it is overwhelming when you just look at the chart. Because that's where I'm at. It's like I pulled my chart, I read the little tiny brief description, and that's as much as I know. And it just got overwhelming. But hearing how, as you've been using it for you, knowing that you do research and investigate, it like intrigues my mind to be like, whoa, there's really like deep connections, and those things that connect all those little squares and circles and triangles together have some pretty powerful effects on your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, really, if you're new to human design, you can go online and Google free human design chart. You do need your birth information. So, where were you born? What city and state, or state and city and country, right? Also, need to know your specific time of birth and obviously date of birth. So, time is important. Um, my husband's time is not on his birth certificate. So, we just did a little guessing. Some other human design experts will teach, just kind of look at a couple of times throughout the day and look what's similar, and then kind of like do it a little bit closer together and see what stays the same. And when it starts to change, kind of stop at that gap. The thing is that some of the basic information is probably accurate, but the micro information we can't really rely on. So I know that my husband is a projector and I'm a generator. And so there's 5 energy types. So I'll start there. So pull your chart and then learn what your energy type is. That's really step 1, because it's a rabbit hole. You can get overwhelmed and you can continue studying for months and years and still continue to unfold new information about your actual chart. Um, but first, pull your free chart online. There's a lot of incredible websites. I like the My Body Graph site. I like freehumandesign.com or myhumandesign.com, Jenna Zoe, and she sells little micro courses. She does not do readings herself, but she has a team. I do readings also, but you want to learn about your energy type first. And so there's generators, there's manifestors, there's manifesting generators, there's projectors, and there's reflectors. And so generators and manifesting generators have motor centers. So like you'll see a defined root, a defined solar or sacral or spleen. These are motor centers, or the like identity center or ego center. These are motors that are giving us the physical energy to do the things. Projectors do not have these areas defined.
Wow.
So they feed off of us to give them little surges. So learning that my husband was a projector, I will humbly admit I judged him for being lazy. I pull his chart. Projectors can be seen as lazy because they do life differently. And I'm like, oh, makes so much sense, right? My husband's not just this lazy person. He just isn't have the physical energy that I do. He gets spurts of it. So he feeds off of my son and I. My son's a manifesting generator. I'm a generator because we make up 70% of the population. Projectors make up about 20%. And so they're like orchestrators and seers. Some of them do very well as like a chief of staff. And so they really can see like objectively, they see things differently. And so they'll use their energy in a very different way, and sometimes can be as productive if they honor their energy type.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. And manifestors are the initiators. So they get an idea, they can just go after it. They're just pure energy. Just go after it. I don't know a lot about reflectors, to be honest. I haven't really done a lot of readings for reflectors. I haven't studied it deeply. But what I do know is that they can kind of like be a chameleon and really relate to every other energy type.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So they can seem like, oh, well, I feel like a generator today, or I feel like a projector today, right? Um, but they also do life very differently, just like projectors, because they're a smaller percentage, and that energy might not be sustainable either.
Wow.
So you are a manifesting generator, yes?
Yes.
We found that out.
Yes, we did.
So first you want to find out your energy type, and then you want to learn your strategy and authority. And so after that, then you want to start embodying your energy from your energy type. Like, of course, you can continue learning all the things, but that's really the roadmap. And then you want to learn about your energy centers, because that's really going to be, for me, one of the most powerful things. I follow this woman, Jess Fields, on Instagram, and she has an entire course based on the energy centers because they're that powerful to help you navigate life every single day, understanding your energy centers. And then it's your profile. You'll see that you have, I'm going to pull it up right now. You have a 6-3 profile. And if we have time, we can talk about what that means. And then you can start getting into like the arrows and what that means, like how we digest, what type of environments we do well in, how we manifest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then there's gates and channels, which you just continue to confirm the greater, like the greater picture. You can learn about your incarnation cross, which is your broad life purpose. And then there's genetic coding, and it really does go on and on and on and on.
And you are guiding people through these right now, right?
I am, yeah. So I do like a level 1 and a level 2. And so I break up all the things I just shared with you into different sessions. Um, because it's a lot to understand, but after my second reading, I just wanted to start doing readings and starting to like pull all the information. And then it's like it's really validating the investigator in me with my 5-1 profile. Um, it's so fascinating because when I was younger, I wasn't really living by design, and I didn't get excited about information like this when I was younger, but I investigated and like wanted to know all the things like in circumstances. Maybe not from like a studious standpoint. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
the investigator is constantly curious, asking the questions, never satisfied until they know it all.
So when you talk about like being able to tap into that energy as you go into the chart, does this align with your yoga teachings also? Like bringing in that energy like you do in yoga, or is it something completely different?
Absolutely. It's helping to balance those energy centers, right? And so because the style of yoga that I teach is I love me yoga, so I'm bringing in affirmations into the experience. So yes, you're clearing your physical energy, honoring the body, right? And projectors do really well taking yoga. Projectors aren't really meant to, most projectors aren't they have a very sensitive immune system, so they do well with more gentle workouts. um so yeah, it absolutely does. They're separate tools per se, right? um but they absolutely connect. So it's like, all right, well, I feel like I feel the pressure of my root because I have a white root, which is the bottom square at the very bottom of the chart. So I would encourage myself or a client to step onto the mat, right? Do some meditation, release that pressure. So it's another tool.
That's so beautiful. I love that it can be blended together.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to get into your chart a little bit? I feel like you probably have questions because you said this is new to you.
I have all the questions. Like I said, the manifesting generator and that little overview. And then somehow I fell into human design, I don't know, beginning of this year. And it got so overwhelming. I was like, I had to stop because it was just, I went down, like you said, that rabbit hole, because that rabbit hole could go on. I didn't even know there was such thing as human design readings, which would have been, I don't think I would have stopped researching it at that point because I would have just been like, okay, show me the way. Like, show me what I really need instead of like, again, digging into that overwhelm. But again, talking to you now, I'm like, maybe that's part of my design. I have no idea.
So let's talk about it then. So, as a manifesting generator, you're here to do many things in this lifetime. So, some manifesting generators connect more to being a manifester, which is that initiating energy, and some connect more to the generator energy. So, like, I want to do all the things, and it's like sustainable energy, right? And really, that's for you to know within yourself. Um, so, as a manifesting generator, you're very energetic. You can probably do many things at once. You're probably good at finding shortcuts, very self aware, and have sustainable energy. And it's hard to tell someone that this time of year as we're approaching the darkest day of the year, right? And we all just kind of had this collective winter being forced to stay home. But just generally speaking, how you do life, you probably have a good amount of energy. Um, and so sometimes manifesting generators will skip important steps because you want to do all the things. But the cool thing about that is more often than not, you go back and kind of fix those steps. That's just your process. I think it's so cool because that's why I've always disliked, oh, hot mess mom. I really think that's such a negative persona of anybody, right? And people are like, embrace the mess. But to me, that's just me not connecting with those words. And it's really like this is a talent, right? A talent to be multi-passionate, to be able to be a multitasker. Um, and so the other part of that, which is like, the shadow, the other part that you really want to notice is that you just might not finish what you start. So it's just be conscious of this, right? Um, so you're really uniquely capable of getting more done than most people, and you can really sustain that pace. So you got a lot of ideas and you have the energy to do a lot of things. And if that is overwhelming and creates pressure because you have an open head center, your head is white. If that creates pressure, then maybe you simplify and don't do all the things. But if you thrive on doing all the things, then continue and embrace your process. And I think that's what's cool. Um, because I present general information, but then if someone's disconnected from, oh, well, I don't fit into like my full Virgo ness, right? But then I have a rising sign, and then I have a moon sign, and then I know my human design, and that's part of it because astrology is a part of it too.
That's so interesting. It does make a lot of sense in my life. I am definitely a starter, a skipper, and a not finisher.
And then that, so like I said, it's really, and just to keep this connected to the self-love conversation, oftentimes we are hard on ourselves saying, oh damn it, I didn't finish the things, and not loving themselves. Like this is like more within versus the physical. um and maybe being disappointed, and so it's like, all right, well, if doing all the things brings you joy, continue, allow that process. If it feels overwhelming and disorganized, then simplify, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I do miss the mess. Well, that you were talking about that I miss the overstimulation. This year I've really cut down on the stimulation and it has felt strange. And that makes perfect sense because that's not my design.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
it really is. And so for you, you have your sacral defined, which is the gut. Generators have sacral authority. So decision making comes from like follow the gut. So you are going to want to listen to your gut, but you also have an emotional authority. So I'm non-emotional. I take on other people's emotions, which is where I learned the hard way. I cannot schedule more than one reading per day. And I need at least 2 to 3 days to prepare before a reading because I was starting to get drained. I was taking on these people's energies, but it's also like exerting the information, my head. It was intense, but it's okay. That's what I needed to learn. Um, but the authority is really your compass, your decision maker. And for you, you have it in your sacral center, but it's also reigned um, by your solar plexus, the emotions. That is a superpower. And so with that, you aren't going to want to be spontaneous. You're going to want to let the emotions settle because they're there to teach you something. And then make sure that after that, then it's like a gut decision. It's like, all right, I have clarity. Now I can move forward. And it's not like, oh my gosh, what do I eat for dinner? But it's more of like these really big life decisions. So your emotions are really a superpower, and you get surges, waves of emotions, and that affects your energy. So while you have that generator motor by your root, which is the adrenals, and your sacral, you can go, go, go. Your emotions might really take a lot from you. So it's just noticing that.
That's really like my mind is just like, wow, that is exactly me. It's so interesting that just by knowing where and when you were born, that these kind of things were programmed into
It's
our
so
existence.
fascinating. And there's the yellow center is the identity and G center, but I call it the self love center. And there's all these gates that really just talk about the embodiment of self acceptance. And some of it literally have it in our design. We'll have to talk offline. I mean, it depends on how long you want this to go, but you have self love, literally empowering others to love themselves by example in your chart. Not everybody carries that. You have compassion and diversity, a place of compassion and love for self and others, following the flow of natural order and finding the place to serve the greatest needs. And you have the ability to allow and receive greater and greater things because you are worth it and deserve it. To value, love, and accept yourself and align with being fully supported by the universe in all the ways you need in order to fulfill your life purpose. So these are three gates that are colored in, the 2, the 15, and the 10 in your G center, your identity center. And especially someone that did self-love work, I'm like, let me share this with you, please.
Right? I'm like, oh, well, that makes me feel like you said that it empowered me. And it's like what you were talking about in the beginning of how knowing your design empowered you in what you were doing. And that little bit was just like exactly what I needed to hear at this current moment in time and place. And it's so cool that it's out there, but until this year I had no idea that it was even something that existed, let alone until this conversation I didn't realize how deeply rooted it was really in our beings. And I think that's so cool that you're offering people something like this and in depth so that they can find that purpose and passion. And the fact that your yoga is I love me yoga, it's you have to have some of that inside your design too, right?
Oh yeah, I do. I do have the see, because now I do so many charts, like while I'm on this call with you, I'm referencing a lot of my resources because for me right now, it's impossible for me to memorize all the different variations, but I'm getting better and better at really having a greater knowing of some of the things that are a little bit more common and who is requesting a reading from me. And I think that's just going to come in time, but there's just unlimited variations in each chart. But yeah, I have the 1, the 7, the 10. So I actually have almost all except for 2 gates defined in my self-love center. And so when I found that out, I was like, whoa. And so generators actually, their theme in life is to have satisfaction. So if I have satisfaction on my self-love journey and then sit in my soul purpose of embodying that, and then my generator aura just gets even bigger, I'm doing my work by being me. And that's pretty cool. It's like,
That's amazing.
and we don't want to get jealous of anybody else's chart and think, oh man, I wish I was that, right? But it's everyone has their purpose and we all go together. But it was extremely empowering to find that out. Um, I simply get to just be myself and do what I love. And then the success will come because projectors have success as their signature. So they really owe it to themselves to pursue success.
So in that center place, just out of curiosity, because now I have all the questions.
Yes,
When
please ask.
when you're starting to look at that, that sounds more like flow versus like try, try, try. That's the feeling I'm getting from your chart center, is like you're allowed to be yourself and it flows. It's this beautiful, like, I'm like making hand signals for a for a podcast, but it's like this beautiful just river flowing where it just kind of takes you to the destination, and it's just allowing it to be. Whereas you could be working against yourself by overworking it. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Even though generators and manifesting generators have energy to do, if you are not having satisfaction in what you're doing, you will burn out. So you can actually do more by doing what you love because you have that motor energy, but it must be satisfying. It must. So if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. If the body speaks and it like contracts, then that's a no. If there's expansiveness, so maybe you're not feeling it in your actual gut, but you feel expansiveness in this big decision you need to make in your life, and play with it. Some generators with a sacral authority, and many gens even with a solar emotional solar plexus, some people connect to saying mm-hmm and mm-mm to make decisions, because it's just like this vibration that helps decide. And some people resist decision making that way because we've been taught to speak properly, right?
Wow.
But it's this offering of a vibration of allowing us to make decisions.
That is so cool. I'm like, okay, sign me up. I need to know all the things. I need to get in on this because my brain is just like, things are triggered. Like, not in a bad, not like the trigger.
It causes a lot of, it's very reflective. So then you
Yes.
start examining scenarios in your life leading up to this moment and realizing, wow, I did behave that way. And maybe I felt bad about it, but look, that was by design. So I don't need to. Or you were maybe uncertain about something, but it's like, oh yeah, that was. So like I said, it's extremely empowering and validating. And the Facebook Live that I did yesterday, well, today's the 17th. So yesterday was, it's like this tool that gives us permission, right? So yeah, it is extremely, and we hear the word triggering, but like trigger is just like a set, it just sets something off.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful exploration of self, and it's becoming more known. It's becoming more known. Karen Curry is a teacher. She calls it quantum human design. Jenna Zoe has her courses. And then there's a lot of other teachers that study underneath a lot of these other teachers. And it's fascinating because everyone has a little bit of their own interpretation, as we all do with information in the world.
But my brain is like so many different directions right now. I'm like, I'm having trouble forming actual questions, which is the first for me in my podcasting history. I normally have questions. But so back to, either your chart or my chart, when you have that, because I noticed when I looked at our charts, there's a lot of similarities.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the generator? Since you're a generator and I'm a manifesting generator, is that kind of like those two areas that were shaded in? I think they were in yellow in whatever chart I pulled. I don't know if there's difference in color. Is that like the generator core that you're talking about? Is that center colored in area?
So just like by chart, we have similarities. So we both have a defined self-love center. We both have a defined sacral. We have so that's just what's in common for the two of us. So those are like motor centers, right? Well, the sacral specifically, but you have that generator energy, and I have the you're a manifesting generator, and I'm a generator. So yeah, and I think it's empowering to say, hey, what do we have in common on our charts? But then what is different is still very empowering, right? Because it makes you very unique, and you have a different path, and you were born in a different place, and you were brought here with a different purpose, even though we do similar work. We often connect. I'm hearing that we connect with those that we have a similar profile. So you have a 6-3 profile and I'm a 5-1, but again, we both do self-love work. and, body positivity. And it's, we made our connection in that way.
And so the profile is the next level down then after
So
that
right here,
individual?
so if you're looking at your chart, there's numbers on the right and there's numbers on the left. And if you, depending on what version you're looking at, the my body graph, they're black. So those are like conscious parts of us with the gates and the profile line. And then there's the unconscious, the red. So the second number is taken on the right hand side, which is a 6. And then the left hand side is the 3. So you have a 6-3 profile, which we won't get into a detail with it, but 6 is the role model and 3 is the martyr, which is like your path is experimentation. So you don't make any mistakes. You're meant to explore and experiment life, and that is gonna through, like, people are gonna say, if you want to know anything, then go to you because you've done all the things. And there's like, they're not mistakes. Anything in your life is not a mistake. That's your path. And so yes, we hear that in a general term, but that's literally like your the way that you see yourself, the way others see you, the way you do life.
That's so cool. And like you were talking about in the beginning of doing that live challenge where we're being challenged for bonus points right now with Amanda Smith. Those points to go back and reflect through this year, I find that that's very much true. I just experiment in all the things, and it's never for me. It's never a failure. It's like, oh, well, I learned from that. That's not what I enjoy. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna find
Hmm.
something new. And this is so, I hate to say like reaffirming and empowering because like we want to generate that from within ourselves, but it's really, like you said, I'm starting to learn why you're so empowered by knowing these things and how
Hmm.
it's such a critical tool, that blend of the spiritual side of like mind body soul connection.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, and it's something that, so
you
it's a tangible that's confirming something that we already know in the soul, which is just mind blowing to me. And so it's it, in the empowering part, that's where it's like, all right, well, now I can love myself for who I am and how I am. And then there's even parts on like digestion. There's certain energy types that are not meant to do like fasting. There's certain energy types that are not meant to do like CrossFit. So here's the thing is, this doesn't also need to be a doctrine, right? This is not a religion. So you're going to do what you want to do in your life, but energetically, we do well to honor our design, right? Um, so I mean, some people out there niche down and they'll talk about like why that diet's not working for you because look at your design. You're not meant to digest that way. Generators are meant to have even a little bit of something. So if I'm depriving myself on a diet in quotes, then I'm probably going to binge because my design is satisfaction, right? And as is yours. So you're going to want to, if you want a little something, then honor that little something because that satisfaction is going to bring you more fullness in your day and in your life.
wow, that is just, I'm almost speechless. Just it's so interesting and I can't wait. I know after this I will be getting in for one of your sessions because I want to know more. It's just the things that I'm connecting just by listening to you talk in my own life about like just the small little bit, like this surface level stuff that you've just told me. It's like, oh, well, that explains some of my eating disorder and how those came into tuition, how my business has been where it's at, all these different things. It's just like, this is such an empowering tool. And how cool is it that you've fallen in love with it enough to share it? I'm so excited.
Thank you. Thank you. I would be honored to do your reading and anyone else that's listening. Again, it's just, it will find you. If this is your first time hearing it and it's like not for you, okay, maybe not. But the next time it comes into your life, then maybe it's meant to be then, right? Because everything is in divine timing. Because I had learned about human design at one point. I just like won a reading from something I participated in. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But I didn't really get into it. And then I was taking a course and there was like a bonus module, and it was about Instagram, right? And so the woman, I didn't actually connect with her, but I decided to find people that did readings, and I paid for a reading. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to know more. But I want to do, there's going to be people that are going to want to do their own personal research, and there's going to be people that like that will be the death of them, the research, because the rabbit hole might consume them a little too much. But like that's the thing, is it's bringing me satisfaction, so that's where I am so fulfilled by doing this. But that's where the people that it doesn't bring satisfaction to are going to come to the people that it does, which is so cool. So I don't have to worry about those things. It's
And
like the people that don't want to chop the vegetables, that's why they sell chopped vegetables at the store. Like we don't have to worry, oh no, well they can chop their own. Well, no, like I don't want to. I want to buy the chopped onions. I don't want to cry. So in the same way, if that's a helpful analogy.
that is, and where can people find you?
I am active on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, I am Heather Nieves. Facebook, I Love Me Yoga. And I'm keeping, and I'll tell you the side note about that. I'm keeping that name because yoga is a way of life. It is. And so this ties into yoga, absolutely. And so while people are seeking the physical practice, it's a way of life. And so this, it just makes sense. It's under the house of yoga. And my website, heathernieves.com.
And I'll make sure to get all the information in the show notes for you, because again, I am signing up. Like this little thing just made my mind up for me. And I'm hoping that other people out there can really see that like there is a tool out there. And whether you, like you said, it's non-denominational, whether you're super spiritual or not, it's something for everybody. It's inclusive. And that's what makes it such a beautiful tool, is it is inclusive.
Yeah, I just had one of when I taught in real life, um, she reached out to me and said, I haven't been feeling myself, and I haven't been allowing myself to be me. And when she say, she's just like so ready to be me, like, right? She's just so ready to be authentic AF. And it was just so exciting that I get to offer her that, because the season, the times that we're going through have really pulled her down, and she's lost herself. So I'm excited that this tool gets to empower her to be her most authentic self again, because it's reclaiming that identity. It's stepping into your soul's calling, and it's that permission. It's that powerful moment. Yes.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to dig in, and you can be expecting me on your schedule very shortly. I think that when I had made a decision to cancel something this year, that was one of the things that you had told me, is like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And it took me a moment to not take it personally, like, but there's this in between gray ground. And then I thought about it, and it was like, no, it really isn't a hell yes.
That's the thing. So our soul knows when it's an in between, I don't know, then it's a no, because it's not a hell yes. And so I'm learning to live by design more and more, especially if I'm teaching it, right? I want to live by design, and just especially as a yoga teacher, as a women's empowerment coach, I really work hard to be that authentic AF self. It's not just a persona, it's who I am, having no makeup today, sharing when I'm struggling to honor rest, right? And I think it's so important. But yeah, if it's especially for generators and manifesting generators, if it's I think it should be like that in life, no matter what, no matter what energy type you are, because some of us struggle with people pleasing and lack of boundaries. That is something that generators struggle with, is people pleasing, right? So once we're aware of that, it's like, I did a reading for a friend of mine, and I went to her house yesterday, and it's like, well, consider this your permission to say goodbye to that client, because she was people pleasing and it was taking up too much of her energy and time.
That's so beautiful. I'm so excited. So, if you were to just give one person one little quick gold nugget to walk away with, what would that be?
So let's normalize rest, especially as a generator who wants to do all the things. Um, Especially right now, maybe you're listening in winter time or not, but our body wants rest. It's okay to rest. It's safe to rest. I'm allowing more rest lately, and I'm still growing my business, which is just against the old way of doing things. So yes, it's honor rest, allow rest. And then once you learn your energy type, then you will probably be more empowered to harness that energy and allow rest. And then by allowing rest, then we are more energized when we want to do the things that we need to do and enjoy doing.
So amazing. And I love how you honor that and that you're openly honest about it. And like, again, you live by your hashtag authentic AF. It's like, if there's something going on, it's like, no, I need a mental health day. I need a rest day. And you honor that. And not a lot of people do. But like you said, you're still growing. Your business is still growing. It doesn't stop when you take care of yourself. It grows. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to know. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me back. It's such an honor. I'll have to I want to listen to the previous episode and just reflect. I'm trying to think when that was. Um, but that would be fun too.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.